your installation, so it means that it's pre-built in all of our installations. So once you don't have a data warehouse and you want to create your consolidation layer, once you install BellaDati, you will have the data warehouse with him. Or once you have an existing data warehouse, you can you don't need to install a data warehouse with the BellaDati. You can basically install BellaDati, connect it into the existing data warehouse. So either if you want to start with scratch with no data warehouse, no consolidation layers, or you want to you have something from your previous projects or from your you start building already data warehouse, you have options how to connect it, how to consume the data. So you don't need to export, import it, or start building a new data warehouse.
So if I put something into the BellaDati data warehouse, I can reuse it, right, for the other dashboards?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were showing you, basically the data warehouse is the third tab. What I see here are all the tables, all the simple tables, all the joint tables of the data warehouse. And then when I go to the table, I'm able to see all the attributes I have. I'm able to create new attributes. I see all the indicators. I can define the drill down paths. I can browse data as I was showing you. I can create alarms. I can share the data warehouse. These are all the things you can create. You can do with the tables. But what's the most important thing is how to get data to this data set, how to get data to these data tables. So as we were have mentioned for a few times during today's workshop, we have prepared and really focused on the number of connectors we have. Currently, we have more than 100 connectors to standard relational databases. You can consume data through web services, so you can publish URL and consume data in XML or JSON format. You can connect to social networks, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google. You can connect to more popular cloud applications like Salesforce, and other, or you can consume data through local files. So when I have a Excel file or CSV file or zip file or XML file or whatever, I can just consume it from my computer. And currently we release the MongoDB, which is support for unstructured data. So basically not a table, not an SQL database, but more like a non-SQL database where you can start doing text analysis and sensitivity analysis and so on and so on. So just for the curiosity, I know guys you were asking about it. So I list here all the databases we test, and you can connect. You can see like MS SQL Server, MySQL, Postgre, and everything here. We'll send the PDFs, the presentation with the PDF later. So if you are really interested in some kind of databases here, if there's a SAP and so on, you can just browse it. It is more for
the SAP BW.
I think they just named it SAP DB like a database, but yeah, this is a business data warehouse. So BW. Okay, so let me show you how to connect. So here, basically, I have two different options. One is import the data, which is more like import from your local storage from your computer, or you can use one of our predefined data connectors. Then I'm using the data sources. So let me start maybe with a simple import. So I just hit the import. I select what kind of a file do I have. So I will have a CSV file somewhere here in my BellaDati, probably workshop. The list of all my schools. So this will be a simple dimension, with all my schools, and I hit continue. So this is the.
So they accept the Excel files?
Yeah, there was. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a XML option, CSV option, Excel option, zip file. You can actually upload a zip file with one of these files. So this was the extraction of the data, and now there should be a transformation. So what you can do in the transformation, as I said, you can derive new columns, you can clean columns, you can create new values. Basically, you do everything in this interface. What's really nice about BellaDati that it can automatically identify what kind of columns you have. So basically, if I select that I have a header column, it will automatically identify. Okay, so this is ID, this is an attribute. So there's this green icon. This is a school. There's also a green icon. Dimension. Dimension. And if there's any numeric value, it probably identifies that. Oh, this should be an indicator. So if I want to do some simple transformation, you want to start with a simple transformation, and we'll show you more complicated later, you can, you have all the columns here in the left side. So I just select, okay, this is not indicator. This is probably also dimension, zip code, how I want to, display data by zip code, by some region, and so on. And here I can, start doing more complicated transformations. I'll do it I'll probably do it later.
You show what kind of encoding supports UTF-8?
Yeah, I think the standard encoding. I have never experienced like some issues with encoding. Sometimes happens, but they haven't had a problem here. And once I'm done, I just hit continue, and there what I can do is basically, BellaDati informs me that you don't have this dimension or this table doesn't have any date information within it. So usually when you have dimension, it doesn't need to include, date, because dimensions like whatever list of all the schools probably doesn't need, to have a dimension. This is not a time relevant. So BellaDati automatically offers you to append some date. So you can, decide like, hey, I want to append some date, some current date, some historic date, or I just want to, import data without the time dimension. So even if you don't have a time in your database or in your primary source, you can still append it during the import. And then, some notifications about what I want to do, if the import is finished and if it takes over the time, or how I want to overwrite my data. So imagine that you have some data in a data set, and probably you want to make it more current, you want to upload the new data, you can still set up the override policy, as we call it. So how you want to override data, what you want to do with the data which are already in the table, if you are, like importing again. So the options are, I want to delete everything before my import, or I just want to override, data with a specific date, so I can delete everything. I can override data with a specific combination of time and date, or only with the same time, or only with the same attribute. So let's say I want to delete everything. Currently it's empty, so I can select, hey, I want to override everything, and if I'm done, basically the import will run and data will be there's some issue yet. So yeah, so data will be loaded to the data set, and I will see the calendar when it was loaded. When I'm connecting a local file, I basically upload it, and the data are loaded there. But what if I have some connection, I want to consume data like constantly, like let's say every day. Again, I want to schedule something, I want to set up some frequencies, some automatic frequencies. So we can do this with all the data sources. So let me go back. Let me maybe allow me to create one more data set. I'll call it evidence. So one evidence, because we are on one Meetup today, so I'll call it one evidence. I have an empty, I created a new table, and now I need to populate it with data. So I select a new data source, and this is what you already seen, and these are all the connectors where I'm able actually to connect to. So I can select a social network, but let's say that I have data in a database, which is I think the most common case. So basically, I fill in few parameters I need. So basically, what you always need to fill in is where my data are stored. So I fill in few simple parameters, and when I get them correctly, yeah, then I can start writing SQL query. So what I actually want to extract from this database. So let's say I wanna get all the data from an evidence table. So this is really easy, right? I want to return me all the data from the evidence table, because this is what I want to import. This is what I want to import to my database. So once I'm done with this and I specify this query, I will extract all the data to my import settings, probably in a second. So I'll see all the columns in the table, and I will be able to start creating all those transformations. So I'll start writing the transformation scripts, cleaning data, and so on and so on. Again, connection slower, yeah, and I'm here. So I see all the data I extracted, and now I can start doing things like, okay, probably this column I want to edit it. This will be a date, and the date will have the following format. So I'll save it. So this is a basic operation I can do with a column, as I was showing you, and then I go maybe to another column, and I said, okay, but this is not the year, but this is a school ID. So so I can, and this will be the attribute. So these are the basic operations you can do. Editing the column and content of the column you're extracting from the database. But what's more interesting are the transformation scripts, as I mentioned them. So imagine that you want to create a new column. You want to calculate something, or you want to write some formula to transform something or clean something, but it's not in the original table. So I just select, okay, I want to create a new indicator. The indicator will be called, for example, acceptance rate. So I'll just call it acceptance rate. And here we have a our own transformation script. So very similar to formulas, but the syntax is a little different. You can do a little different things here, and I can start, writing what I want to do. So let me just show you. I want to return value from column 4. So for every row, I'll get, if I hit show preview, for every row, I was able to extract actually, acceptance rate. So this is, or number of accepted students. So this is how I work with it. And again, I can start writing here more complicated transformation scripts. So let me just find one, which is this one, and which calculates enrollment rate. So I'll hit show preview. You see something, and you know what I'm doing here. Basically, this is the whole scripting language. I'm accessing column values from column number 5, which is number of enrolled students, and I'm dividing it by the number of value from column 4, which is number of accepted students. So again, I'm creating a new indicator which will be stored in the BellaDati data warehouse, which will be, called acceptance rate or number of enrolled students from all the accepted student, number of enrolled students from all the accepted students. I don't need to write a number here, right? So I don't need to write like column number 4, but I can directly write a number of accepted students here, for example. So this is how you work with it. Once you're done, you just click update, and new column will be created. And once you're importing data, this will be always included in your report. You don't need to create only the indicators, but you can start writing a more complicated queries or more complicated transformations. So let me show you one more time. Let's say again I want to do some. I'll just copy this and I'll explain it right now. So let me say that I have some rating. So every row, for every school in every row, I have some rating, which is stored probably in column number 12. What I want to do, I want to create a new attribute, new dimension with a text, rating. So if it's at risk, if it's below average, it's about average, it's good, it's excellent, or it's undefined. So again, I can write a complex transformation script, complex query, which will derive the value from the column 12, assign this value, and then return the result. So if I hit the show preview now, I should be able to, I created a new dimension, and I can use this dimension. I can use this, use these members in my report because this will be stored.
So it is a script that's specific to BellaDati, or it's like some.
It's the syntax is our internal, but it's based on a Groovy language. So it's I think it's really similar to all the other languages, Java, C++, or whatever, So basically, we have a very good documentation of all the functions, all the transformation script on our developers portal. So it's not complicated to write it. You see that you can do a switch case, if loop conditioning. Maybe I have more examples in my presentation. So this is how we describe ETLs, and then what you can do. You can access rows and a column, so I can use this value 5, value 4 to access values in existing columns to create the new columns, or to just clean it. I don't need to create a new column. I can just access the value number 5, do some operation, and then return the value. So basically, I clean it. I just probably I can have like the full name, and I can just find the surname and just return the surname. So this is the operation. Then you can do a mad operation. So you see that I was identifying type, of the variable. I can do like absolute values on all the functions you have in the scripting language. Absolute values, dividing, equals, and so on and so on. You can do a string manipulation. So basically, as I was saying, you can get the full name of the student, and you can start substringing, concatenating strings, and so on and so on. Conditions and branching, as we will showing later, if-else condition, and everything. So I'm getting, the language value, language rating or language grade, math grade, and I'm just writing, you know, like a little bit more complicated if-else statement. If the rating is below 17, but you know, the person has not passed any of the exams, or I can do conditional branching, so I can start building, you know, this switch case, looping, condition format, you know, conditional format. So once I'm done, I have two new columns here, or two new dimensions here. I just save it. Rating text, let's say. Again, I can hit continue, and I can execute the import immediately. So after I confirm it, I will be able to run it. So data will be actually moved from the database I connected to BellaDati data warehouse. Or I don't need to, I don't need to execute it right now. So now data are importing, but I can wait, and then I can schedule it. So here's the button for scheduling, and scheduling allows you, to take this process and to set up how many times you actually want to run it. So you see that, okay, this is a green value, the import was successful, the data were actually loaded into the data warehouse, and now I can start, click, for example, here, and I say, okay, every day, 8 a.m., every day, so I select every day, from the frequencies, we can go down to 5 minutes, actually, with the import, so it's almost real time, and how you should override the data. So let's say, don't override the data, but every day, 8 a.m. in the morning, append, extract the data and append them to the data warehouse and apply the transformation scripts I was actually creating. So I save it, and now I should be able, to see all the schedules. So this is the scheduling, blue are scheduled one. Once they, finish, then you can review it. If there's any, error, you will receive the email that, okay, there was some error, some information about the import and so on. So once I hit the browse data, I should be able to see all the data extracted. So they are here, and I created a new column, which was called rating text. So you can see that this column is actually stored in the data warehouse. This is the reason between this is the difference between the transformation script and the formulas. The transformation script that actually transform your data and store them in your data warehouse. While formulas, it's more like a JavaScript based, so once you run the report and you calculate, for example, the dropout rate, these data are not stored in the data warehouse, but they are, on the fly calculated once you run the report. So this is the difference. And then what's interesting about it, like I imported schools, I imported school evidence, but if I want to create a report on top of these two data sets, I probably need to specify some relation, or some joining. So I can take, I just hit join data set. I create
this data set could be from different sources, right?
Yeah. So you saw that one data set was from Excel. This data set will be from database. Then I can, take some data from Salesforce, some data from a Twitter or so. I just call it like one school. Evidence, and continue, and there's a really easy, wide guide what I want to do. So I'm going to take, I want to join this evidence with the schools, and this is how it works. You select, okay, the primary key will be probably, the ID. I don't have my ID here, and there will be the ID, and I want to, what kind of a join do I want to use? So I want to use an inner join, so everything is, real nicely explained. Do I want to join with the time? Or I want to join without the time, match. So how it's probably, supposed to work. Once you join it, so basically if I hit create, the data set will be created. It would include all the columns from my first data set and from the second data set. So once I start creating report on top of the data set, I will be able, to use measures and dimensions from both the data sets. So this is how it works. So basically, joint data sets are designed, to allow you to combine different data sets together and then build one report on top of that. Let me maybe show you one more connection. We still have 15 minutes. So I'll create one more data set. I'll just call it one Twitter. How easy it is to connect to Twitter. Right. So this will be actually a simple authentication. So I just go to data sets. I'll select the Twitter connector. I sign in with Twitter with my probably BellaDati account. Yeah, so I'm logged in. And then what we prepared actually for you is that you are not only, Twitter offers us so many different, API requests. So one request is for my home timeline. One request is for my all my retweets, all my mentions, my friends' timeline, my followers, and so on and so on. So we decided, to create this object, so you don't need to call 5 different, 5 different requests, but we put it to the single, object, and then you can simply select the object, and you will get, the group of the data. So, for example, for my timeline, I get not only all my timeline, but I get, my retweets, my mentions, my favorites, my probably, and all the stuff, and then you have a suggestion here what kind of analysis you can create, what kind of reports, basically you can build on it. So you can select, okay, I want to analyze my timeline, all of BellaDati tweets, or I want to analyze who are my followers. I just select, return the list of all my followers, and then here are the possible reports. Or my followers' interests, which is more like what are my followers tweeting about, who's retweeting them, who's mentioning them. Or I can basically select, some kind of a trend I'm really interested in right now. So if I want to analyze data about, for example, Tesla motors, I can type, Tesla, and then I receive all the tweets about Tesla probably, and I will be able, to analyze it. So let's say we want to see all the data about BellaDati timeline from the BellaDati timeline. So again, the workflow will be really simple. The API call actually received all the data. We have the date of the tweet here, we have a tweet type, so someone retweeted of us, and everything basically what Twitter provides, you can experiment with on your own. And once you run the import, I'm not going to do it right now because connection is slower. So I already imported the Twitter, and I call it the tweet analysis. So we already have some data, in Twitter from a Twitter API. I ran before the meetup. So I prepared a simple table or simple report on top of it. I can start building, for example, table. So let's say I want to see my most dedicated followers. Right, followers in all time. So I'm not selecting the interval. What I'm curious about is number of tweets they mention me in. So they mentioned BellaDati. So who's mentioning BellaDati, how often, and so on. So I'm probably curious the number of these tweets. So I just select ID count. I call it mentions. So I know what this is about, and then I hit OK. But now I just received the number of count of all my tweets. So we have 1,000 tweets from us, from all the retweets, from all the mentions. So what I need to do is probably apply, some dimension. So just go to dimension, and I'm interested in username. So who's retweeting me, who's mentioning me actually. So I save user. I put indicators up here, so I play around a little bit with the table, and I can order this. So I just order it, but not mentions. So probably you would think, hey, like BellaDati is mentioned itself like 190 times, but it's not true even because I have to set up a filter where the tweet type will be mentions, because I said we're joining some requests together, so we're joining mentions and home timeline and favorites and retweets together. So I just select like number of mentions. Once I do this, okay, I'll see okay, BellaDati's Twitter account, we are actually mentioning ourselves like 36 times, and our CEO is tweeting a lot about BellaDati. And then Finovate here in Singapore was tweeting a lot about us, and B-Success in Korea was tweeting. Our CTO is also tweeting a lot about us. Demo events we're attending is tweeting a lot about us. When I go, I think somewhere down there, maybe I should be somewhere here also. Down there, yeah. So I'm here, So once I mentioned BellaDati in my tweet, so this is how I analyze it. And why we have a Bella apps? Because, you know, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this, like setting up all the indicators, attributes, filters? No. You can download our social, you know, Twitter analytics, for example, template, or Bella app, as we call it. You can import it here. Just set up your connector, so instead of our data, you will see your data, and you have everything inside. So what kind of analysis you want to do? My most dedicated followers, or I have a different suggestion here. I just use here to show you, who are my most dedicated followers. My most retweeted tweets. What are my best tweets? When I tweet, for example, that we moved to Amazon Web Services, someone retweeted us 7 times. Okay, this is real nice. Someone retweeted us. What are my best hashtag combinations? What kind of tweets are most retweeted and mentioned when I use this combination of hashtags? What's the most effective tweeting time during the day? So when we tweet, I think the analysis shows, we can try it, that when we tweet at 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning, we had the most retweets because it was, late evening in the US. So these are, for example, all the reports, all the tables you can create, and you have actually bundled in the Bella apps. So you don't need to do this, what I was creating right now, when I was showing here, how to analyze data from Twitter, for example. So let me set up maybe a few things you want to see here, like a nice table. And once I'm done with this, I can go in when I can start getting charts, like I was saying, like what's the best time for a tweet to us. So if I want to know what's the best time during the day to tweet for us in hours, I just select dimension. We have it by seconds because everything every tweet is recorded down to the second. So, but I don't want to see it by seconds. I want to see it by hours, and then I want to see number of retweets. So how many times we were retweeted during the day. And maybe I set up filter again, as I was saying, that type of the tweet should be retweet. Because right now I saw all my tweets during the day, so I saw like 500 times retweeted at 7 or 4 a.m. in the morning, but I want to see only our retweets, so not when we are active, but when our followers are active again. And I see this chart, so I see like when we tweeted at 7 a.m. in the morning, 15 times we were retweeted. 3 a.m. is also good. Probably then at 2 a.m., 10 p.m., 10 a.m. we should also tweet. And if we tweet in the evening, there's no response, no one's retweeting us, and so on and so on. So this is another, option what you can get from Twitter data. And this is not like included in any of the Twitter Insights or Facebook Insight or Google Insight. This is our own insight. We thought would be valuable for us to see like when's the best time for our marketing people to tweet. I think we still have 6 minutes to lunch. So guys, if you have any questions, if you see something more, just go ahead. Have a question.
For these connectors,
Yeah.
how often do they refresh? Do they refresh automatically? Or?
No, you have to set it up in a scheduling, as I was showing. So it's up to you. You can go down to 5 minutes, up to quarters, years. So if you set up, I want to refresh it every 5 minutes, we will make a call to Twitter API and pull new data. If you set it up once a day, you set up the time, like 8 a.m. in the morning, then every day, 8 a.m. in the morning, BellaDati will actually pull data from the Twitter for you. So once marketing people come to the work, they see, okay, what are the new tweets, what are the new retweets, mentions, or if I go deeper with, for example, with Mongo, show me all the new explicit comments, show me all the new good tweets, and so on and so on.
Do you have any demo for Mongo since you've been talking about it so much?
I don't think we have a time for a demo. I can tell you what I actually did yesterday. What I did yesterday with the Mongo, but I don't have it here. So how, for example, Mongo works? Maybe introduction for others who doesn't know what's a Mongo. Mongo is a NoSQL database. So instead of writing storing data in the tables and writing SQL scripts, this is a NoSQL database, which means you are not able to write scripts. So maybe you would say, hey, this is really complicated once you are not able to write the scripts. But Mongo has a very similar structure. It's based on a database. Instead of tables, it has collections, and instead of the rows, it has documents. document can be something like this. You know, this is a JSON format, which says that my name is Peter, and movies I like are Superman and Batman, which doesn't need to be true, but okay. So for example, in a tabular way, I would write like somewhere here will be Peter, and there will be a relation to the movies table, and there will be whatever Superman, and there will be whatever, so Peter, Superman, Peter, Batman, or maybe even like this, there will be movies, there will be relation many to many, or something like this. This is more like unstructured data, which means that you can basically put whatever you need. You are not creating structures like people, movies, and then relations, but basically whatever you want, whatever JSON you have, you can just throw to the MongoDB and then you can start analyzing it. What I was doing yesterday is that I searched last 1,000 tweets about Tesla, not Nikola Tesla, but Tesla Motors, which is like my favorite company, about the cars. And I was interested, I wanted to go farther with the Twitter analysis. I didn't only wanted to know what are people, how often people tweet and what are the retweets and what's the count of the retweet and all this like structured data you can do, but I wanted to go farther, and I ran a sentiment analysis in Mongo in collaboration with BellaDati, and I was searching within the body tweet for words like best, top, amazing, incredible, perfect, Once I did this, I get the data set of all the tweets, and I was actually able to create reports in the BellaDati. So maybe I'll show you a very brief demo in 2 minutes. I'll leave this one. How it looked like eventually. So I'll create a new database, data source connection. I have a Mongo here. I just connect to our Mongo instance. Oh, this is really brief. Okay, I'm connecting to our Mongo. I select our test database. I mishit. Test database. I select firstly all my Tesla tweets. So I imported all the Tesla tweets in the Mongo, which you see that Twitter has a lot of columns. So probably I'm gonna delete a few of them. We are probably not interested in all the columns, but I from Twitter API, I just loaded all the columns to the Mongo. So I just deleted all the columns. Probably maybe to do it one by one. Few more. We're not interested in this. Not interested in this. Not interested in this. Not interested in this. We'll be interested only in the tweet. On the tweet. Good. Done. I delete this query. I'll create my own query. So I'm interested in the fields. I'm interested in the text because text is a tweet. So if I execute a query, I hopefully should be able to see. Yeah, I should be able to see all my tweets. So you see the preview of the tweets here. So it has 1,000 rows. You see the preview here, and you see that someone in Russia mentioned Tesla, and then Tesla Motors, INC, Solar City are not only projects of Elon Musk, and then something more about the Tesla. And I have 1,000 tweets of them. But I was curious. So show me the positive tweets. Show me all the tweets when people price Tesla, because probably I'm thinking about buying the Tesla stocks or something like that. And I want to analyze it, from which countries people write a good tweet, good tweets, or explicit. Maybe sometimes you're interested more in explicit instead of good, but I wasn't interested in good. So I was searching for all the columns I show you. I was searching for words like best, top, amazing, incredible, perfect, and I created a new collection. So let's say a new table with all those tweets. So let me again. Probably we are not interested in all the columns, but I just want to show you the text. So I will be interested in an object text, and I run this command, and here I have a data set. So basically, we did in Mongo with BellaDati, we did a text search, and you can see the first tweet. Here is the best of CNN. Here is the perfect. Here is the incredible. Here is the amazing. Here is the best. Probably I should exclude Nikola, because some tweets are not about the Tesla Motors, but Nikola Tesla. But yeah, but this was the simple search. So I get all those tweets from 1,000 tweets. I went down to, let's say, dozens or 5 or dozens of them. So I can include maybe more columns, like when the tweet was created, how many times it was retweeted, what was the user, and so on, and then I can start creating report on top of it. So the use case will be, I'm a marketing person, I came to my office in the morning, and I'm not curious only about how many people are retweeting us and mentioning us, but show me all the explicit comments or all the explicit tweets about my company. So because if users are complaining, usually when I have a problem with my bank in Czech, because I'm traveling 3 months and I have a huge problems with my bank back in Prague, because they shut down my internet banking, which is really hard, to be 3 months outside of the country and not having a internet banking. So I was like explaining, the first thing you do, you're gonna, to Facebook or Twitter, you explain, you complain about your bank. So probably if they have this BellaDati capability, they will be able, to come to work, and from all the mentions, all the retweets about their bank, they can, search for explicit words or bad words like I'm not satisfied, I'm disappointed, and all the stuff, and they will see the report, let's say table, chart, whatever they want with my username, with my location, with the body of the tweet, and they can start interacting with me like, hey, why you're not satisfied, and so on and so on. So they can start, this is one of the use cases I think about. There's many of them, but this was I was more curious about what people are saying about the Tesla good things. Maybe today afternoon I'll run the bad tweets. So I'll search for some bad explicit word about the Tesla, and then I'll figure out what people think about it. I think it's a pretty good car, so everything is just good. So this is how Mongo works in a really quick explanation. We released this 2 weeks ago, so this is really like a first prototype. This is actually the first time I'm showing this. I did this yesterday, so this is like very fresh. But I'm really looking forward to this because this is amazing. When I was playing with this one, you can go much deeper in your analysis with this. And that's the end.